BIA subcommittee meeting, June 13th, sound check 1, sound check 1. Sound check 2.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to call the BIA Advisory Committee meeting to, it's the subcommittee meeting, is it not? Subcommittee meeting to order. Nice to see all of your faces for the first time in a long time. As well, a reminder that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during committee meetings. And I will now commence a roll call. Please indicate if you're here. Councillor Tammy Huang.
Present.
Councillor Esther Pauls. Councillor Maureen Wilson. Chelsea from Ottawa Street.
Here.
Alexa from Concession.
Here.
Tracy from Westdale and Stony Creek.
Here.
Kelsey from Dundas.
Here.
Susan from Waterdown.
Here.
Heather from Ancaster.
Here.
Nadine from Barton.
Here.
And Emily from Downtown.
Here.
Changes to the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have two small but important changes to the agenda. Two items were missed inadvertently, both under item 13, general information and other business. We have added 13.1, verbal update from Christina Geisler, business development and BIA officer, and 13.2, statements by members. And although not a change to the agenda, committee is made aware that a revised version of the presentation for item 8.2, Hamilton Street Railway HSR Transit Plan, has been published to the agenda.
Okay, may I have a mover and seconder to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Heather, seconded by Emily. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. And may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of the May 9th, 2023 meeting as presented? Moved by Alexa, seconded by Kelsey. All in favor? Carried. Now we're on to 8.1, the Main Street two-way conversion. Mike Field, Acting Director, Transportation Division, and Debikar Sharma, Manager of, is here to present on the Mainway two-way conversion. Sorry, I can't talk today.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just checking to make sure you can hear me and see me.
Yes, we can hear and see you.
Perfect, thank you. I'm Mike Field, I'm the Acting Director of Transportation. Just a note, we have a new Director of Transportation. Her name is Carolyn Ryle. Carolyn is with us now. She started last week, and Carolyn's going to take over from me, and I'm moving back to my home position, which is the Manager of Transportation Operations. So I'm just going to try and share my screen and hope that this works. Okay. Does that look good to everyone in the meeting room?
Looks great, Mike.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm here to talk about the Main Street two-way conversion study and seeking the input from you today, the BIAs in the city. Just noted on this slide here, there is a reference to a website that we have, engage.hamilton.ca, that has a lot of information that I'm well, actually all the information I'm presenting today is on there, and then more. So if you want or you would like more information, you can email me or you can go to that website to find out more. I'm just trying to get oh, there we go. Sorry. So back in May of last year, Council gave direction to staff to do a couple things. One of them was to convert Main Street to two-way, and it's important. This discussion isn't about if we are going to convert to two-way. It's more about how are we going to convert to two-way, because we received that direction from Council. In the interim between then and the two-way conversion, or from the motion to the two-way conversion, they asked us to look at undertaking immediate safety measures on both Main Street and King Street, which I'll talk about a little bit. Also, to undertake public engagement that leverage complete streets, EDI, and climate change approach for Main Street two-way conversion, and then to consult with Metrolinx and MTO about the portion of Main Street which is over the 403. Currently, Main Street, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it, it is one way between Longwood in the west and the Delta to the east. The segment that I have in purple here is the section which I refer to as the MTO's area of influence. We as a city, we don't manage that section of Main Street. MTO does that, and then with any changes within that segment, it has to be done with the endorsement agreement of the Ministry of Transportation, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. The initial two-way conversion, which is in the reddy pink color there, will focus on Dundurn to Delta, because MTO needs to do some work in that purple segment there, which would come later. We would convert the entire section of Main Street to two-way eventually once MTO completes work on that purple segment. And then we would have to make some alterations to the segment we are already converted, particularly towards that intersection of Dundurn and Main. We've been working on the Main Street two-way conversion study for a little while, since the fall of 2022, essentially. And this shows some of the steps we've completed. We're quite far along, and we're into the public information gathering piece, which is really important. And then once we conclude that, we're going to bring back a report to council in July. It's probably tracking a bit more to the August meeting and not the July meeting. There's 4 primary opportunities for converting Main Street, and the project is looking to take advantage of these opportunities. The number one being enhancing safety, particularly pedestrian and cycling safety through the corridor, increasing accessibility for people, transit users, but also cyclists, pedestrians, and other users, enhancing connectivity through the corridor. And then the last one is infrastructure conditions. So you're all familiar with kind of the condition of Main Street itself, from the road and sidewalk, and maybe locations that don't have up-to-date accessibility standards. So those are the 4 primary opportunities that the project is looking to deliver. Main Street, the kind of the essence of converting Main Street is to make it safer. So looking at the collision statistics from a 5-year period between 2017 and 2022, there's been just over 2,000 collisions. And then of those collisions, 1,517 occurred at intersections. That's 73% of those collisions. The citywide average is 57%. So you can see that there's a disproportionate number of intersection collisions happening on Main Street compared to other roadways in the city. And there were 548 mid-block collisions. Those are, in between intersections, and those comprise 27% of collisions. And you can see the citywide average is higher at 42. So it's really showing that there's a pattern of collisions occurring at intersections on Main Street that's different than the average roadway in the city. Of the couple thousand collisions, 84 of them involved pedestrians and 37 of them involved cyclists. Those last 2 bottom statistics, if you've heard me talk about Main Street before, I kind of point out that these statistics are really important to me and to Vision Zero, that basically 90% of the time that a pedestrian's involved in a collision, they're injured, and 77% of the time a cyclist involved in a collision, they're injured. An injury, by definition, is a hospital visit and possibly life-altering incident for those people who are involved in those collisions. We undertook a number of immediate safety measures in 2022 on both Main and King Street. You're probably familiar with many of them. We rearranged the number of lanes on Main Street. For example, we introduced a bus-only lane on King Street. So we did a number of things over the summer of last year. And compared to previous years, that equated to about a 42% reduction in injury and fatal collisions, which is great to see. The one thing I just have to mention is that within the transportation industry, it's difficult for us to draw conclusions on the effectiveness of safety enhancements with limited data. We normally look for 5 years worth of data to draw kind of absolute conclusions. So obviously don't have that in this case, but this graph and the collision performance is showing that what we did implement did have a positive effect on the safety performance of both Main and King Street. So I'm just going to go through the two-way design alternatives. The following design objectives were considered throughout the development of the alternative designs. Increase safety for all road users. This includes motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians in alignment with what Council asked us to do. Make it a more pedestrian-friendly corridor. Improve cycling connectivity. Prioritize two-way transit. Enhance accessibility. And considerations to parking and loading needs. And the other one is adding greening and streetscaping elements for Main Street. These design objectives are opportunities to improve the safety and comfort of Main Street. After we identified the alternative transportation solutions, they were evaluated against the following criteria to determine their impact, as well as the planning and transportation needs of the alternative planning solutions. These include safety and conflict mitigation between motorists and cyclists, traffic operation, which is the impact to roadway capacity and intersection operations, pedestrian friendliness, or in other words, having access to safe, walkable, and convenient pedestrian routes, cyclist network, the provision of cycling facilities and connectivity to destinations, social health and equity, the provision of a fair and accessible environment for all roadway users, transit operations, which is the impact and compatibility of each design alternative with local transit, on-street parking, which looks at the impact to on-street parking supply and the cost of the anticipated cost to construct the conceptual design, and finally, green and resilient infrastructure, adding greenery, trees, and permeable surfaces to the corridor. We came up with three design options. I'm going to focus on option 3 just for respect to the time that I have today, but you can find more about option 2 on that website that I referred to. Option 1 was do nothing, looking at the corridor exists today. Obviously, we can't follow along with that. That's the council direction, was to convert it. So do nothing is not necessarily an option that we could utilize. Option 2 is a symmetric lane capacity. That means that equal number of lanes going westbound and equal number of lanes going eastbound. And then option 3, which is the preferred option, which is an asymmetric lane capacity. And I'll just get into some details for you to show you what that looks like. So option 3, that asymmetric lane capacity, it's a roadway design reconfiguration in which the 4 existing eastbound lanes are reconfigured to be asymmetrical, with 1 vehicle lane traveling west and 2 to 3 vehicle lanes traveling east, depending on the segment. Main Street is a long corridor. As a result, a more localized segmented approach was taken with the development of this design to determine the needs, opportunities, and functionality of an asymmetric road configuration through Main Street. The Main Street study areas were broken into the following segments that you can see there: Dundurn to Caroline, Caroline to Victoria, Victoria to Sherman, Sherman to the Delta. And then I'm just going to go through those segments in the next slides for you. So the first segment, Dundurn to Caroline, has, you can see the asymmetrical lane capacity. The roadway reconfiguration for this segment is 3 eastbound lanes and 1 westbound lane. The westbound lane can be seen at the top of the roadway in the drawing. Once the section from Dundurn to Longwood has been completed by the future study by MTO, that intersection will need to be redesigned to accept two-way conversion to the west of that intersection over that 403 segment I talked about earlier. The second segment, Caroline to Victoria, this is in the downtown core. The roadway reconfiguration for this segment is 2 eastbound lanes, 1 eastbound left turn lane, and 1 westbound lane. This segment of Main Street includes a flexible travel lane, parking lane between Caroline and Bay Street, depicted in a hatched orange, as well as a flexible open space in front of Hamilton City Hall between Bay Street and Summer Lane, depicted in hatched green. Further medians with pedestrian refuges are considered in this option. This will be further looked at during detailed design. Maybe I'll just pause. All of these drawings in the expanded, this isn't the full, I'm not showing you today the full end-to-end design for Main Street that is available on that engage.hamilton.ca platform that you can see. And there's a lot of notes on these drawings that kind of reference to what we're looking to do. So if I just pick on the intersection of Bay Street and Main Street that's in the middle of that drawing there, shows a median and it shows some green on either side of kind of the pedestrian area. Wherever we're taking space from the roadway, we are looking to make sure that we're not just going to pave those areas. We'll look for opportunities for planting trees and adding greening. Wherever we're adding room or taking away from the roadway, we're going to make sure that we use those areas to green it and do some streetscaping. The other thing that I should have mentioned at the beginning, is that these drawings that you'll see in what I'm presenting today are conceptual. This won't be what will be built. This is for kind of presenting the configuration and seeking input from the public and from parties such as you, so you can get a flavor of what we're doing, and then it can help inform some comments back. The project, if approved by council to proceed, will go through a detailed design phase in which the final detailed configuration of the roadway would be sorted out through that process. The next segment is Victoria to Sherman. This section has 2 eastbound lanes, 1 westbound lane, and separated unidirectional bikeways on either side of the street, shown in green. This option will consider barrier separation, similar to if you're familiar with Hunter Street, or a raised cycling facility, including considerations for raised crossings for both sidewalks and cycling lanes. And then the last section of Main Street, Sherman to Delta. Roadway reconfiguration for this segment is 2 eastbound lanes, 1 westbound lane, and on-street parking, which is depicted in the hatched blue area. These are also extended curbs for bus stops and providing some protected parking. This area is less dense than a downtown, with many businesses fronting along Main Street on the stretch of the road without on-site parking. So provision of on-street parking is included here. This is the Delta intersection itself where Main and King Street meet. It's a complex intersection. I'm sure everyone is familiar with this intersection. When approaching the intersection from the east, traveling westbound from the right side of this image, there are 2 lanes of vehicular traffic. 1 lane is for traveling northbound onto King Street East, while the other continues straight onto Main Street. From the left side of the design drawing, traveling eastbound, the 2 vehicle lanes has 4 ways to travel when approaching Gage Park. 2 eastbound lanes continue straight onto Main Street through the intersection. 1 bus-only lane for the HSR stop depicted in the red, and the actual stop itself depicted in that blue circle, and a vehicular lane that travels southbound connecting to King Street South. We are limiting the amount of changes that we're having in this intersection. This intersection is going to be completely reconstructed by LRT, because LRT is going to be transferring from King Street onto Main Street through this intersection. So we want to limit the amount of throwaway costs that we put into reconstructing this intersection. We don't want to do it twice. So we're making minimal changes to make sure that it operates from a two-way operation perspective, and then allow LRT come along and rebuild this intersection and make all of the final improvements through that work. As noted in the assessment of alternatives, the project, the projected future traffic operations in the corridor is kind of shown here, and you can see that I have a date in brackets of 2041. Selected this as post LRT completion, and considering that the operations considers, expanded population of the city at that point in time as best we can, and then the operations of the LRT along King Street. Through this, a new design that considers safety and comfort priority and increasingly intensified Main Street traffic calming would be achieved through the technical preferred design option 3, creating a more equitable space for all roadway users. through traffic calming and improve safety and comfort for all road users, a net gain for the community is achieved. This drawing is just kind of showing the good, fair, poor from kind of a traffic flow congestion perspective. And it's not much different than what we have today, where most of the congestion occurs within the downtown core. And then it eases as you travel eastward. That is occurring mostly because we're generating a lot of traffic from the west end of the city, from Westdale and from the 403. And then as people kind of travel easterly, they depart for whatever their destinations are, if they're going up the escarpment or if they're kind of shifting to a north-south kind of direction of travel. Oh. So just a summary of the configuration there. We want to provide that westbound flow for public transit. You would have seen, a transit traveling westbound on Main Street, which obviously doesn't happen now. The eastbound traffic will be slowed. One of the issues that we have on Main Street is speeding, and that has caused quite a few collisions and safety concerns for cyclists and pedestrians. Slower speeds addresses that problems and opportunities identified on the onset of the study, and traffic calming and improved safety in this corridor results in that net gain for the community that I mentioned. And then we're going to leverage opportunities for greening and resilient infrastructure wherever we can within that corridor through the reconstruction. And then also leverage those opportunities to improve the infrastructure conditions along Main Street. One of the things that is going to be part of the project is completely repaving Main Street for the full length of it and replacing the roadway, but also replacing pretty long segments of sidewalks that are in poor condition. And every single signalized intersection will be reconstructed as well. The traffic signals today only serve the one-way operation and have to be reconstructed to serve two-way operation. But that also means that all the ramps and push buttons and all those things that pedestrians need to use those intersections will be replaced as well. So the next steps with this, we're into the final stages of the commenting period. There is that information that I mentioned on the engaged.hamilton.ca platform, including an interactive map, which people can pin comments on very specific locations. If you have comments that you'd like to provide that are very specific to an address or a very unique location along Main Street, that mapping tool can be used to do that. The commenting period for the public was open until June 5th, but that's just a soft closure, so we can start compiling all of those comments. Obviously, it's past June 5th now, and I'm meeting with the BIA subcommittee today, and I'm most interested in getting comments from this group as well to supplement comments that we've already received. So if you have sent in comments to us previously, I do thank you for that. I know, Susie, you sent some comments in to us. The idea of the comments gathered during the consultation will be summarized, assessed, and applied where possible to refine the design alternatives when we go back to council. And then once we've gone through that, we're going to confirm that preliminary design, make some changes to the design that I showed you today, and then we have to report back to council. And what we have to report back on is, like I mentioned, they've already approved us to convert Main Street to two-way, but we have to report back on how are we going to do it, what's it going to look like, how long is it going to take, and then how much money and resources is it going to need to do that. So we have to report back and seek approval on the implementation of the two-way conversion, which I have on here on July, but it's more likely that I'm going to report back in very early August to Public Works Committee. I'll just pause on this last slide here. Here's the contact information. We have a partner through a consulting firm called WSP, and James Schofield is the main contact from the consulting side, and then Dipankar Sharma, who unfortunately couldn't join me today. He's at a conference. He is the project lead within Public Works for the project, so both of their emails are on there. And then I just popped in the engage.hamilton.ca website again for everyone's reference. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. Thanks so much. I'll just stop sharing.
Thanks so much, Mike. Do we have any discussion or questions for Mike? Emily?
Just some questions from the downtown Hamilton BIA, as we are obviously quite affected by the two-way conversion. So I think I could say that we're most concerned about the traffic impacts for people coming from the west and leaving from the west from the downtown core. I know you showed us the projections from 2041, but is there any sort of estimate of what the traffic impacts will look like in those interim years with the construction on LRT and the difficulties just before people learn to move to different routes and find different ways of getting downtown? I think we're just a little worried about what kind of gridlock will be caused downtown with these changes.
That's a really good question and important one. And I'll answer it kind of in two ways. So so if we don't think about the LRT construction occurring kind of, we want to do this conversion before LRT starts construction, we've actually reduced the lanes through the downtown core to kind of the configuration that's going to exist with the two-way conversion. So if you're familiar, we put in those concrete bump outs and those sorts of things. So the number of usable lanes through the downtown core isn't much different from what it will look like once we convert to two-way, except we'll have a westbound lane introduced. So the traffic congestion that you see now is similar to what it would look like in the future. But when LRT starts construction, that's going to change things within the downtown core and within the city. Anywhere that project is working, it is going to eliminate King Street completely during construction. I don't have the details of how construction is going to go for LRT, how it's going to be staged, and where it's going to start, that sort of thing. But there's no doubt that it's going to have a huge impact to traffic congestion when it is working its way across the city. And that's one of the main reasons of why we want to convert Main Street to two-way, is that all westbound traffic is going to be eliminated during LRT construction. So Main Street provides some westbound traffic capacity through the Main Street two-way conversion, and also maintains that eastbound, but completely acknowledge that it's going to be pretty busy in the downtown core for traffic during LRT construction. But we're working with Metrolinx and the LRT office to come up with methods to manage traffic congestion, that sort of thing, the best we can when LRT is up and running, or not up and running, under construction.
That's great. And then I have a couple follow-up, if that's okay. Just in that same vein of avoiding a lot of the gridlock on the westbound lanes, will there be HSR running on the westbound side, and will there be left-hand turns allowed from the westbound direction as well? I'm just concerned about the stoppage in that single westbound lane backing up throughout the downtown.
Yep, there will be. The transit will be operating westbound through there, but not an express bus. It'll just be kind of the local stop bus, and left-hand turns will be permitted for westbound traffic through the corridor.
Okay, so I'm just concerned that the bus stoppage and the left-hand turn stoppage will totally eliminate cars moving in the westbound direction while those are happening, basically, like act as a total stopper to the westbound traffic entirely.
It will definitely slow it, and if a transit vehicle is stopping to let passengers off or pick up passengers, it's going to delay any vehicles sitting behind them. That's for certain within that corridor. However, it's not, from my understanding with talking to transit, it's not going to be a really busy transit route, because it's a secondary transit route that they're going to be running transit on here. So it's not going to be, a lot of buses going down the roadway, consistently through the day. They would be spaced out. So that will help with kind of the stoppage that you're kind of referencing.
That makes sense. And then last one is just the BIA itself would love to be involved in any like public art initiatives with maybe
Yes.
painting some crosswalks or streetscape improvements along there. And I was just wondering, within this timeline, what would be the best point to connect with you guys and be able to work on some ideas for that?
Yeah, that's one of the notes that I have in the longer presentation that I've done, talking about doing decorative crosswalks and decorative intersections and all that sort of thing, and doing streetscaping, which I think is really important for the project itself. So if you want to connect with me directly or with the project team, I am really interested in collaborating on, those public art elements, because I think that they absolutely need to be incorporated in this project for the full length. And any help and input that we can get into what that public art looks like and what the content in is just, I think it just makes it, even better outcomes than if we were just to go along or not have them or kind of try and figure out those things on our own. So I appreciate that.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Chelsea?
Hi, I'm Chelsea from Ottawa Street, and I just had a question for, during the construction period, obviously traffic's going to be taking a lot of like alternative routes. I think one of them will probably be Ottawa Street North. I was just wondering, as that will increase traffic in our area, which is a very high pedestrian zone, will we be receiving any sort of support for this change in flow of traffic, such as traffic lights or more pedestrian crossings put in, or what will happen during the construction part of it?
Thanks, Chelsea. Are you referencing construction of Main Street two-way conversion or LRT?
Any?
Any, and all.
Construction that will affect like Main and King?
Yeah, I can't speak specifically to LRT. That's a good question for the LRT office for sure on how that's going to be managed and what supports they're going to provide during construction of LRT. But during construction of Main Street, definitely we need to consider the detour routing and where cars are going to be going during construction. So those kind of details would be looked at during the design process on how the project is going to be actually constructed and phased. Obviously, we can't, it's not one of those scenarios where we can go to bed one night and it's one way and wake up next morning it's two way. It's going to take some time to make those changes. So it's going to be have to go through kind of a staged approach to work our way down. The actual amount of reconstruction for converting to 2.8 is mostly repaving and signs and markings work than anything else. So it's not like we're going to dig up all of Main Street and have it so it's not going to be able to be used. It's always going to have vehicle traffic flowing on it during construction. So there will be that. But like I mentioned, during the design phase, we'll be looking at detour routes and all those sorts of things. And kind of to your point, if there's a necessity to have a temporary traffic signal or temporary pedestrian crossings or that sort of thing, then those are items that we can incorporate within the kind of the construction plan as we think they're needed. And then through the kind of when construction is occurring, we try our best to anticipate any issues that may pop up, like you're referencing, but we can't always figure out everything that's going to happen. And then, if something were to happen, say within the Ottawa Street BIA that's really being impactful, we would want to know about that right away. And then we would look at what we could do to mitigate those things once they kind of pop up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'm going to pass the chair to Susan. I have a few questions. Mike, nice to see you on something different.
Yes.
We've been working on together. I just want to reiterate the questions I sent in so that it's on public record with this subcommittee. Our main concern is the center median that is being proposed that runs from Ferguson to Spring. We're very concerned with the loading dock for Deningers and the businesses within that stretch not being able to have deliveries properly. And I just want to flag that as probably our biggest concern with all of this. I can imagine if Denninger isn't able to get their trucks in and out, that's going to be a massive issue for them. And just for clarification, are you changing the direction of traffic flow on Spring Street to southbound before LRT is complete, or are you going to wait until that's done so it doesn't negatively affect those businesses on King?
Okay, so I'll start off with, and I appreciate the email that you sent to us, and you made some really excellent points about how those design elements can create barriers for businesses, and I'll just kind of revisit that the plans that I showed you there are conceptual, so I can kind of say that that's not what's going to be built. So that big long median, it needs to change based on what you're saying there, and we need to make sure that the businesses that are along there, like Denninger's, aren't their operations aren't negatively impacted, or there's no thought to mitigate those impacts along there. So when we get into the detailed design phase, that will be done by engineering services, and they would be seeking more specific input from businesses and the operations of businesses along the corridor to make sure that the detailed design isn't inhibiting their operations. So that's a really important note for everyone at the BIA subcommittee to know too, that there is a secondary level of engagement that occurs with businesses or residents or whoever lives within these corridors, that they get reached out to and say this is happening, and gives like that really unique opportunity to provide input into the actual design during the design phase. And then with Springer Street, I think that's another feature we are coordinating the work with LRT and the LRT office, and that needs to continue, especially with something like that. The timing for those types of changes or secondary changes, I would lean towards talking to the LRT group and seeking their input as far as when that type of change may happen, if it's beforehand or after or during construction. So I just noted that one for myself to make sure that I bring it back up with the LRT team.
Okay, great. I just have one more question. And so where will the lost parking spaces on street be accounted for? So we're losing quite a few on-street parking spaces in downtown with the conversion, and I'm concerned that where are people going to park is really the question. Has that been thought of?
I wish Brian Hollingworth could have attended with me today, who's the Director of Transportation Planning and Parking. So what I can do, because I don't want to speak on his behalf, I can bring that question forward to him, and then I can have him reach out to you directly or the BI subcommittee and talk about that exact subject of what's happening with parking and the other comment we heard are loading zones that exist today, not necessarily parking, but loading zones within the corridor.
Okay, great. I think it would be worth meeting with the BIA boards downtown and International Village directly once this is more clear on the direction that it's going. And that's all I have, so I'll take the chair back from Susan. And I see that Judy has a question.
Thanks, Susie. Mike, we consulted a lot with the office landlords for our downtown office report that's going to GIC tomorrow. And one of the comments were when there is construction, and we know that the city will allow at some point the developer ability to close off that lane of traffic to accommodate the construction of the condos. And I'm wondering if there's one westbound lane, does that mean that that type of thing can't be accommodated if there's only one lane of traffic?
That's a good question, and I do address that in my longer presentation. That's one of the considerations for this is, like you're noting, depending on what's being constructed, sometimes they need a lot of space within the right of way by taking up sidewalks and vehicle lanes. So those scenarios would be looked at on a case-by-case scenario. And the first preference is that we don't extend construction zones out into the roadway. I think that's just typical. But in instances that we have no choice, then we look at other ways that we can mitigate that. And Main Street will be no different from that. There may be instances where we just cannot avoid it. And we need to come up with other solutions to temporarily deal with the loss of a sidewalk or a vehicle lane in those conditions, and that would be done through the kind of the construction zone and the planning of that development. So I can't be specific today, but definitely it is a consideration, and would create barriers since there is only one westbound lane, and in theory that westbound lane could be blocked by the room the development needs to take up, but we need to come up with ways to mitigate those occasions if and when they do happen.
Okay, thanks. And then the other comment I believe I heard was the bus lane that's right now that you're using, and I don't know if they had mentioned that it seems like the bus lane, because it's a little narrow, the bus needs to sort of go into part of the other lane. So in effect, it's when a bus travels the route, it's taking more than its own lane. And I'm just wondering, will there be a reconfiguration of how wide the lanes are?
Yeah, I think what you're referencing on Main Street, there is a true bus lane or bus area on Main at McNabb, and then there's a bus only lane on King Street. Those little red areas are designating bus stops. They're not actually bus lanes, and they're not the full width. So the bus isn't meant to drive exclusively within those areas. It's just designating that this is a bus stop, and it's all painted in red. So those configurations that we see on Main Street today won't really exist on Main Street once it's done from 2A. That was part of the immediate safety enhancements. And it's just marking that there is for motorists and for transit users that this is a bus stop.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks for your
You're
presentation.
welcome.
Are there any other questions or discussion items for Mike? Seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder to receive the presentation? Moved by Nadine, seconded by Chelsea. All in favor? Carried. Now we're on to 8.2, the Hamilton Street Railway HSR Transit Plan. We're here with Andy McLaughlin, the Senior Project Manager Planning. He is here to present on the HSR Transit Plan. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting us this morning. I'm going to share a presentation with the group. And I also have with me this morning Andrew Johnson. He's the project manager who is sort of looking after our whole redesign project. So let me see here if we've started to share or not. Let's have a look. There, can we see the screen and the first slide, the title slide?
Everything
Okay.
looks great, Andy.
Great, thank you. So I'll give you a bit of background on where we're at with what we call our redesigned network. Back in 2013, a Rapid Ready report went before council, and as a result of that report, a 10-year local transit strategy was developed. And since 2015, we've added about 190,000 hours of bus service. And right now, our annual total hours of service is just above the 1 million mark per year. Since 2019, we've had about 13,000 engagements with customers, non-users, and other stakeholders. And we found that in terms of our customers, some of the key items that they would like to see going forward is improved connectivity between transit routes, to other forms of transit, such as LRT and GO, and to other modes, such as walking and cycling. Customers would like to see reduced transfers and reduced wait times between the buses. improved service reliability, reduced travel times when they travel across the network, improved service on the weekends, less crowdedness on buses, and better weather protection and comfort at bus stops. What we heard was taken, and we went ahead and came up with a conceptual plan for our what we call our rail-ready transit network, a redesigned network. And this responds to the fact that probably in the next few decades, we're expected to reach about 800,000 residents and 360,000 jobs within the city of Hamilton. And as we all know, buses are certainly a more cost-effective, climate-conscious, and efficient way to move people than private cars, and can work to complement other mode choices like walking and cycling for people completing longer portions of a daily trip. A well-connected transit system can support the sustainability of a city experiencing affordability challenges. It can provide opportunities for newcomers and others to access employment, and it can influence the independence and enjoyment that aging or mobility challenged residents get out of their community. Our redesign objectives are to support the official plan, the Transportation Master Plan, and the Economic Action Plan objectives. We're out to support council priorities, improve the general access to transit, and improve mobility options for all citizens. We want to extend our service span, that's the operation hours on a daily basis, and our service coverage, which is the service area that the routes cover, to yield a more equitable service. We want to maximize service reliability by enhancing robustness and minimizing the risk in customer trips. We want to minimize travel times between key trip generators through more direct trips. We want to improve the infrastructure that's related to transit. And at the end of it all, we'd like to see an increase overall in transit use and in transit ridership. We'll go through some of the key design components that we're addressing as we move forward on our redesign. In terms of improving the network connectivity to the future LRT, we're going to have 90% of our local and rapid transit routes connected to LRT at the 17 LRT stations. That would help to make LRT a good choice for travel across the city for customers coming from all areas of the city. This is a significant increase in possible connections to LRT compared to our current network, which only has 9 locations in which there are crossing connections at an LRT station, and in which only 4 have multiple route connections to LRT. We want to see about improving connectivity to regional transit services through significantly increased connections to GO Transit with the new network design. This will result in improved travel across the whole GTHA, and within the regional transit context, this is incredibly important as parking is very limited at Hamilton GO stations, and arriving by bus, cycling, or walking will continue to be the priority connecting modes to regional transit within Hamilton. We want to improve access to rapid transit service in all areas of the city. We've redesigned our overall transit network with an updated rapid transit network that provides more equitable access to rapid transit service than was conceived in the past. The past network was known as our BLAST network, and in doing an update to the BLAST network, the current rapid transit network was developed close to about 20 years ago and will be connecting more communities through rapid transit. In today's context, over 309,000 people would be living within 800 meters of rapid transit service. That equates to about a 10-minute walk for the average person. So that is about 57,000 more residents within 800 meters than our old BLAST network, and is well over 1/2 of Hamilton's current urban population. Based on forecasted growth in areas, it could be closer to 75% of the population in the future. The rapid routes you see on this slide provide connectivity to most, if not all, Hamilton origins and destinations where people are traveling to each day. Hamiltonians will be able to travel by rapid transit to commercial, industrial, and other employment areas, secondary and post-secondary educational institutions, interregional transportation. We're going to have 4 GO hubs connected to rapid transit, domestic and international transportation hubs, such as the airport, major entertainment and recreation areas, and community hubs spanning across the city's urban areas. The rapid transit network is intended to have a wide variety of delivery models, including the LRT along the main King-Queenston corridor, BRT or bus rapid transit along James and Upper James corridors as far south as Rymel Road, and priority bus treatments of different levels throughout the remaining rapid transit corridors. The rapid transit network changes will be paired with frequent service, since we found that infrequent service will do little to attract more customers to select transit as their mode of choice. In our proposed update, a transit customer could travel from Dundas, catching a bus that comes every 10 minutes in peaks, and can choose to connect to LRT at McMaster University or continue on the bus to reach the Meadowlands, or continue even further to CF Lime Ridge, or as far as Heritage Green, along the way having options to connect to other rapid routes traveling to Mohawk College, Hamilton Airport, the Airport Employment Growth District, and Rymel Road. Similar journeys can be made through direct or connected trips to and from all communities across the city. We're looking, as another of our key design components, we're looking to maximize service reliability by enhancing robustness and minimize travel times between key trip generators. Rapid transit and other routes traveling along rapid transit corridors can have significantly improved reliability with the introductions of transit priority measures like dedicated bus lanes, queue jump lanes, priority transit signals, and then in the case of higher order transit corridors, through exclusive rights of way or on guideways. To maximize the effectiveness of our service, and in particular rapid transit services, we need to know where the majority of movements are being made or could be made in the future. We've centered the success of the proposed network around 8 primary hubs located throughout the city, 4 above the escarpment and 4 below the escarpment, with additional secondary hubs or gateways being strategically placed throughout the outskirts of the city or at key intersecting points, all of which are connected to one another by rapid transit. The hubs that are connected by a variety of route types provide opportunities for community placemaking with improved amenities to maximize integration and connectivity by other modes of travel, including local bus routes, specialized transit services like DARTs, walking, cycling, micromobility, and even cars. At what we have on the periphery, we have proposed park and ride locations. It could support other priorities, for instance, making streets safer and communities more livable by minimizing dependency on private vehicles. It can also provide an avenue to explore how bus electrification could be implemented and diversify our bus charging options to include locations other than bus garages. Building a future network that encompasses route hierarchy recognizes that each route type has a different function and that each area of the city needs to be served in different ways and by different types of service. It allows service to be planned to serve individual communities more appropriately and in the broader context of the network to allow the network to perform more reliably with appropriate bus types to match route function, and in a way to make service more understandable for customers who are using it. Providing minimum service hours for all route types ensures that all areas of the city are serviced the same during all periods, and in turn, that there is equitable access to service to and from all areas for all uses: recreation, employment, studies, shopping. Beyond service span improvements, route types are structured so that midday service levels are closer to peak service levels, and off-peak evening service does not fall off as dramatically as it does in today's network. We do not believe that service should ever operate at less than 30 minutes. Within the proposed changes, weekend service is substantially increased to meet the needs of those who travel on weekends. Where current service levels drop during the summer months on many routes, we are proposing to have the same service levels year-round. Minimizing risk in customer trips can be achieved by reducing the number of transfers for travel between key activity centers compared to the current network. On the slide, you can see a couple of tables that show a before and after a table of transfer points or major destinations and how many transfers would be involved. You can see a lot of red on this one, whereas on the proposed redesign network, there's a lot more green in terms of reducing the number of transfers that are required to go between these key activity centers. The redesigned transit network and its increased connectivity can work in a positive fashion to meet transportation needs as Hamilton grows. During our current consultation process, we welcome opportunities to meet one-on-one with individual BIAs to discuss how the transit growth plan elements can play an important role in a bright future for all stakeholders. The LRT project is underway, and in early 2024, we will go before Council with our final recommendation on our redesigned network, our updated rapid transit network, and our growth and implementation plan. When approved by Council, we will be moving into implementing the network to be ready for when LRT is operational. Opening a second bus maintenance and storage facility in 2026 will unlock our ability to expand and make changes. Currently, the web provides information on our redesign project, an interactive future transit map, and a community events listing featuring displays and a chance for in-person input through direct connection with HSR staff. And those are a couple of the sites that citizens, all stakeholders in Hamilton can access to get more information about our redesign network. And that's all I have. Thank you very much. We'd be willing to take questions. I've got Andrew with me. He's the expert right now on the system, and he'd certainly be able to answer any questions you may have at this stage. But as I said, we would like to take an opportunity to meet with individual BIAs, if we could, during our engagement process to get a better sense of the needs and issues facing them in terms of transportation.
Great, thank you for that presentation, very informative. Do I have any questions or discussions? Emily?
Hi there, Emily Welsh from the Downtown Hamilton BIA. I was just wondering if you had any information that you could share about the future of the current McNabb bus terminal. I noticed on the maps there that it doesn't seem to be included as much as it currently is.
Yes, I'll attempt to answer the question, and Andrew can chime in if I fail to provide enough detail.
I'm sorry, Andy, to interrupt. Can you please stop sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me just stop that. There we go. Sorry about that. Under our redesign network, I mentioned earlier that we're looking for improved connectivity to interregional services such as GO. And so part of our redesign involves routes going up to the West Harbor GO station, which is has 7-day-a-week rail service towards Toronto and towards Niagara Falls. So as we move forward through the various phases of our redesign, we're looking to eliminate the McNabb Transit Terminal itself, or the Frank A. Cook Transit Terminal itself from our network. And there may be a possibility that the lands could be sold if council desires to do so, and for support of other downtown redevelopment ideas and initiatives.
That's great. And then kind of on that same idea is that with so many of the bus routes going down James Street, it seems that in recent years between Grey Cup, Super Crawl, and now Art Crawls as well, closures along James Street are becoming more common. So is there a plan for the rerouting of those routes, or how would those be impacted during those closures?
Yes, currently when the various open streets and festivals and events occur, we reroute the existing transit buses. We will be sitting down with the event organizers going forward as we move into our redesign network and try to find a way to see if we can maintain some level of transit service to get people to and from these events. As opposed to having to do a wholesale rerouting of the enhanced transit service levels that are on James Street, let's say, during these events. But we're certainly willing to sit down at this stage. We haven't made any decisions yet, and we would need to discuss all the options and all the implications of how our new redesigned network will coexist with various festivals and events.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Kelsey?
Hi, I'm Kelsey Knight. I'm from downtown Dundas. We noticed that there is a hub planned for the downtown Dundas core, and it said close to Memorial Square. I know there's been some concerns from BIA members what that's going to look like. Do you have any thoughts on that at this stage?
Yeah, I'll let Andrew chime in on that one. He's done a bit of a preliminary work on that, and he probably has some more information than I would have for you.
Yes, go ahead. Good morning. At this point, the plans for that terminal are very preliminary. We picked that site based on what we think would work, but there is a lot more consultation that will need to be done with the ward councillor, with the BIA, and with the general citizenry.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we'd very much like to talk more about that, probably at a separate meeting.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Kelsey. Anybody else? Thank you, Andy and Andrew. I just want to urge, I do think this is important that the staff meet with the BIs individually before anything is finalized. We're going to all have different issues that we want to look at independently, so that would be great. May I have a mover and seconder to receive the presentation? Heather, moved and seconded by Susan. All in favor? Carried. Great, thank you so much. 10.1, discussion item, we're going to be appointment of a representative to the Open for Business Subcommittee. Are there any nominations for a representative from the BIA Subcommittee to the Open for Business Subcommittee for 2022 to 2026 term of council? Emily?
I'd like to nominate Nadine from Barton Village.
Nadine, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Is there a seconder for the nomination? Chelsea? And are there any other nominations? There being no further nominations, may I please have a mover and seconder to appoint Nadine Ubel as the representative from the BIA Subcommittee to the Open for Business Subcommittee for the balance of the 2022 to 2026 term of council?
Madam Chair, we do already have the mover and seconder in Emily and Chelsea. My apologies.
So we're good? Okay, perfect. So the motion is carried. Moving on to 11.1, Barton Village Business Improvement Area Expenditure Requests. Nadine from the Barton Village, please introduce your motion respecting Barton Village BIA expenditure request.
Yeah, so this is shared parking revenue contributions in the amount of $11,436.94. We intend to use it for beautification and art projects in the public realm. So we're just putting that forward.
Okay, so moved by Nadine, and can I get a seconder? Seconded by Heather. All in favor?
Pardon me, Madam Chair. Nadine, if you could please read out the exact wording of the motion for the public record. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So Barton Village Business Improvement Area Expenditure Request, that the expenditure request from the Barton Village Business Improvement Area in the amount of $11,436.94 for beautification and art projects in the public realm to be funded from the offset to the shared parking revenue contribution from reserve to current account, what the account number to? 815010-47101 be approved.
Moved by Nadine, seconded by Heather. All in favor? Carried. We're moving on to 11.2, expanding the temporary outdoor patio program. Nadine from Barton Village, please introduce your motion respecting expanding the temporary outdoor patio program.
So expanding the temporary outdoor patio program, whereas on February 23rd, 2022, the City of Hamilton approved the combining of on-street patio program with the outdoor dining district program to become the temporary outdoor patio program, whereas the former on-street patio program allowed any business to apply for an on-street patio permit, whereas the temporary outdoor patio program is limited to cafes, restaurants, and bars, and whereas businesses within the business improvement areas would like to be able to participate in the temporary outdoor patio program, therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to report back to the Planning Committee with recommendations on the feasibility of expanding the temporary outdoor patio program to any business in advance of the 2024 patio season.
Are we allowed discussion on that? Is there any discussion? Christina?
Needs to be seconded first.
Seconded by Emily. All in favor? Carried. Christina, did you have anything you wanted to speak to on that?
The vote has already happened.
Well, that's why I asked if we could discuss it.
Once the vote's happened, the item is closed. So,
Which is why I asked, but okay, moving on.
so it's moved and seconded, then the discussion, then the vote.
Okay. So any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on to 13.1, general information, a verbal update from Christina, the BIA coordinator, and I believe that Judy wanted to say something as well. So Judy, the manager of commercial districts and small business, go right ahead.
Hi, Susie. I wasn't sure who was going to go first, but I would like to say that the brochures that we have on the incentives, and we've created one for each BIA, is complete. And so the digital versions are ready, and you've all approved them and looked them over. So that's great. We're about to print some limited copies and would like to ask each BIA if you would like us to provide you with some printed copies. And maybe you can just give us an idea of how many. I know, digital saves paper, but sometimes when you're going out and about and meeting with businesses, it might be easier if you want to hand out a printed copy of these digital brochures. So if you want to let Christina know how many you would like, we'll probably be putting an order in because we'll have some in-house for the office as well. So what we've developed is one for each BIA, but also we developed one overall for our clients that might not have decided where they want to be in the city. So we have a overall brochure of our incentives and then the specific BIA incentives. So if you could just let us know as soon as possible before we put our order in for printed copies, that would be great. And I'd just like to say that it looks great that I can see you all there in person. And, you know, I know what it's like to work remotely and hybrid for the last little while. And there's nothing like sometimes meeting each other in person because you have those somewhat spontaneous conversations and sharing of ideas. So sorry I can't be there later for after this meeting, and Norm as well, because he's out of the province at the moment at a conference. But I just want to say that it's great to see you all in person.
Thanks, Judy. Great to see you too. Christina?
With apologies, Madam Chair, before we move on to Christina's update, we do need a mover and a seconder to receive Judy's update on the brochures.
May I have a mover to receive Judy's update? Nadine, seconded by Susan. All in favor? Carried. Christina?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everyone's faces. Okay, so I just have a couple of updates. I just wanted to provide an update on the summer concert series for this summer. They have already started, but I wanted to just do a quick run through of what the schedule is going to look like for this summer. So on Wednesday, June 7th, Ancaster, you had yours in combination with your farmers market, so hopefully that went off very well without any issues. And as well, Ottawa Street on June the 10th. You guys had yours as well, so it went well. Good. So next up is Stony Creek. That's happening on June 17th. Then International Village I have here for Saturday, June the 10th. 18th, sorry. See, the font's too small, I can't read it. Downtown Dundas, Kelsey's, yours is on schedule for Saturday, July the 8th. And downtown Hamilton, Emily, yours is Friday, July 14th. Good. Locke Street, Sunday, June 18th. July 18th. Waterdown, Saturday, July 22nd. Perfect. Concession Street, Saturday, July 12th. August the 12th. Oh my God. West and Westdale, Sunday, August the 13th. And Barton Street, Sunday, August the 20th. Perfect. And then as well, there is a performance series that is going to be featuring some public, in public spaces called sorry, I can't read it. The Road to Hip Hop. The Road to Infinity. It's featuring dance performances, and the ones in the BIAs that I have is happening on Locke Street on July the 19th and July the 22nd, correct? Does that sound right? And then Concession Street, July the 26th, and Saturday, July the 29th. So that's great. And then as well, Concrete Canvas is going to be happening again this year. So I've had some BIAs let me know if you have walls that you would like to be considered for some of these art installations. There is still some time, not a lot, but if you can let me know right away if you do have a wall that you would like to be considered. And then as well, the traffic signal cabinet boxes being wrapped decoratively, just finalizing the RFQ, so that should be going out. So the remaining BIAs that don't have utility box wraps, we're to have it done this summer. So that is what I have from that. As well, Tourism Hamilton shared with me a free workshop. It's called Inspired Art Impact, Assessing the Potential of Public Art. It's happening on June 29th from 1 until 2. It's free. It's an online. It's virtual. I myself have registered for it as well. After this meeting, I will be sending you guys the details on how to register online if you're interested in participating in that and getting some ideas and inspiration on the value of public art. And then finally, the RAM spotlights. So this month, Concession BIA, it's your month to shine. And then in July, we've got the Dundas BIA, and in August, Ancaster, you guys are up. So make sure that when you do have things that you want, I'll resend the email, how to submit through the RAM portal. And Mr. Urcioli, that's sitting back there from the RAM team, and Michael Marini, will package everything up. It's your opportunity to curate the content, the material, the messaging, everything you want. Just submit everything with enough advance notice, and that month is yours to shine. That is all I had.
Okay, great. Susan?
Yeah, Christina, can you just, when you talk about the wall for the concrete canvas, is this a temporary or is it a permanent art installation?
It's permanent.
And are there criteria for what the wall has to be and where it has to be? And
I can get a little bit more information on that from tourism. I believe it has to be, yeah, I think there is some criteria that they look for on what they would consider to be a good wall for it. I think they usually look for corner properties. Yeah, they are painting the walls, so it doesn't necessarily have to be free of conduits or things like that. I think they can, pipes and things like that, they can paint around that. But I can get more information and I can send that.
And the costs for it are all covered by the program as
Yes.
opposed to a business?
Yes.
I would love to know about that one.
Okay, perfect.
All right, may I have a motion to accept her presentation? Moved by Heather, seconded by Susan. All in favor? Carried. I'd like to bring one more thing up under other business. If I can pass the chair to Susan for a second.
We can do that after statements by members.
Okay, I just thought because it said other business. All right. I would like to now invite the BIA members to provide us with their updates, and I will go in alphabetical order. So Chelsea from Ottawa Street.
Hello, everyone. All right, so hang tight with me because we had a lot going on in June. So new businesses, we've had Heritage Weddings and Coordinators open at 133 Ottawa Street North. They offer wedding packages at Heritage buildings, including Dundas Castle and Battlefield House, as well as regular wedding coordinating. And then we have Crown and Press, which will be opening June 16th at 303 Ottawa Street North, and this one's quite exciting. It's an art gallery, but it's also a cafe. They'll also have pop-up shops, and it's an event space. It's beautifully decorated. Like when you walk in, it feels like you've entered like the 1930s. It's a really cool space. So, and then they'll be opening a print studio next to that afterwards. So it's a huge space to explore. And then in terms of our events, we did a whole series of Pride events. So June 3rd, we had our Family Fun Day, which is where we discuss the different Pride colors and the different flags with all the kids. On June 10th, we had our Summer Concert Series, which we just brought up, which was a Pride edition. We had a plant sale as well at the farmer's market. And then next Saturday, June 17th, is our movie night. It's an outdoor movie night. On a huge screen, we'll be featuring Wizard of Oz, such as it's an iconic film with the 2 LGBTQ+ communities, so it was only fitting. And then the day after, June 18th, we're doing Pride Paints, which will be setting up a still life for everyone to come out and draw and paint, as well as we have some professional artists coming out, and we'll be discussing the theme of perception. Also at the end, the still life will then be raffled off as well, so you can also win that. And then June 24th, sorry, it's our last one here. It's our finale event, which is our all ages dance party. That's over at the Ottawa Market on the corner of Britannia and Ottawa. So we'll have a live DJ and we have a bubble queen coming out. And then the market will also be setting up their stuff as well. And that's it for Ottawa Street for June.
Great, thanks, Chelsea. Alexa from Concession.
Hi, everyone. As most of you know, we just had our Concession Street Fest this past Saturday. Pretty much went off without a hitch. Everything ran smoothly. The general feedback I got actually on the day of from people attending was that it was super and that it was exactly what the community needed, especially after, it's the second year back after the pandemic. But yeah, everything was great. We had a lot of bands come out and perform. We had some drag queen performances. A lot of the businesses quite enjoyed being able to set up their kind of booths and stuff out front their stores. Now we have Sidewalk Sounds up this coming Saturday, June 17th. We have 4 artists set to perform at multiple points on the street. We have a couple new businesses opening. We have Station, like a bar restaurant is opening up in the old Mountain Beauty location. And we have Hamilton Buds opening up at the old Juice Kitchen location, sadly. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Alexa. And Tracy for Westdale and Stony Creek.
Good morning, and I'll add Lock in there too. So for Lock Street, we're just getting busy with all of our events, and we did some smaller events, and our Sundays Unlocked will start in July. We're doing a lot of work on streetscape and trying to alter and rebrand ourselves. Stony Creek, we got our Strawberry Fest coming up on Saturday, so we hope we have good weather and good attendance like you guys had on Saturday. And we've got a bunch of new development, so there's lots of new investment coming in. It's going to be a big change over the next few years. Some long-term property owners have sold, and so we've got new development, new building, new businesses, which is great. And then we also decided to add a new event in August called Boots in the Creek, so country music. It's going to be fun. And then in Westdale, we've got our Farmers Market. Arts Fest is next weekend, hoping for good weather as well. Our Westdale Live, so we have live music every weekend all the way till October. And our patios are open in all 3 areas, and we're very happy with that program. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. And Kelsey from Dundas.
Hello, we have a new business downtown. It's Main Fabric. They're at 5 King Street West, and they're a sewing supply and retail shop focusing on garment sewing, making, and mending, and they do workshops too. So it's very excited to see them right on that corner filling that building. Also a long time favorite Pinbones Fish Market, our local sustainable fishmonger, has moved up the street to 65 King Street West, has applied for a liquor license, is now a little boutique oysters and seafood, that's the word, seafood store. So I think they just had a soft opening like last week, so they've been really quiet about it, but we're really excited. In conjunction with the July 8th summer concert series, we're planning to do a Dundas ABCs of Summers, which is arts, bubbles, and concerts. We have a balloon twister, we got little bubble machines that we're gonna put down the street. Lots of fun, 11 till 4, and those are our main updates.
Great, thank you. And Susan from Waterdown.
So we have launched our farmers market. It marched on May 27th. We had a lot of activity that day, so it's going very strong. We had a great brainstorming session with consultant Patty Hayes for our strategic planning, and we hope that a lot of the good information that came out of that will be put into our plan for 2024 and a longer-term version, a longer-term vision for the next number of years in our BIA. We have OMAC Martial Arts that is opened up in a facility that was lost during the pandemic, another fitness studio that went out of business. We have a new recreational business there. We had a couple of closures in our small plaza at 331 Dundas, and one of the businesses in there, Men Therapy, has taken over one of the spaces, so they've expanded, and we have a new Polished Girl. It's an aesthetic tattoo parlor, and lashes, all of that kind of stuff. 2 big relocations in our area, Global Pet Foods and M&M Quality Products have just moved into bigger locations, spaces within the Sobeys Plaza. Our planters go in this week, so we're really excited about that. All of our patios are open and their planters are already in, and the ones at the American House are spectacular. And we also have our summer concert series on July 22nd. Oh, and we got 2 CSJ students this year, and my second one started this week, so that's a bonus for us as well.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Heather from Ancaster.
So we had a busy week last week. We had the opening of our Ancaster Farmers Market on Wednesday with the summer concert series. So that's at the new location, the Ancaster Memorial Arts Center. Went off very well, great feedback on that. So hopefully it'll get busier and bigger as the weeks go on, but that's every Wednesday. And then we had Heritage Day on the Saturday, which also went very well. We had great weather, great turnout. The parade, I think it was bigger than ever before. So yeah, that was awesome. We have our Canada Day event that we're planning for Friday, June 30th. So that's coming up. And yeah, that's all I've got for Ancaster.
Great, thank you. Emily from downtown.
Hi, everyone. So we have had some new business openings. Recess Photo Studio is on King Street, and they are a place where you can go and take your own photos. So if anyone needs some headshots, head over there. Access Language Center has opened at 25 Main, and a new coffee bar called Alibi Coffee Bar has opened on James Street, and they are very cute and delicious, so be sure to check them out. We also were able to hire 2 CSJ students for this summer. They are going great so far. We're very thankful for that program. Our new brochure should be going to the printer this week, so we should have those back shortly. We are in our 3rd week of promenades so far. It's been going relatively well, good turnout for both of the live music sessions from 12 to 2 and from 4 to 6. We have had some, I'll say, security issues in the past few weeks, but we're working with HPS to hopefully get some more walkthroughs to mitigate some of those issues going forward. We are looking forward to Open Streets this weekend. Be sure to come out for that. We will be having our pirate ship out on the street, which will be great for the kids. And we're also excited to be delegating with International Village tomorrow to council concerning the report going to the GIC about the difficulties that the office towers are facing downtown and across the city. And that's all for me.
Okay, thanks. Nadine from Barton Village.
So new businesses, a clothing and shoe store called Street Code near Emerald and Barton, and there's a new toy store as well called Crazy Ape. Patios are up and running and looking great. We did a butt blitz with Green Venture on June 3rd, and that was just following St. Matthew's House doing their community planting day. If you haven't had a chance to go by, the property looks fantastic. They did an incredible job, and I haven't seen that many volunteers at an event in probably 4 years. It was amazing. Just a great opportunity to be down there, and we were able to give them their BIA Award of Excellence as well, even though it's 2 years old. Working on open streets, thank goodness for CSJ students. I don't know what I'd be doing without them, honestly. We have 2, and I still have a position open that can be filled by the end of June. If anybody knows someone looking, it's an environmental coordinator position, so send them my way. And then Barton Library is doing a beautification in partnership with Green Venture. There's a big plan, been lots of community consultation on that. That's happening June 17th is when that gets started. So come down and visit me. That's
Great.
all.
Thanks, Nadine. I will pass the chair to Susan while I do my update for International Village. So just like Emily, this weekend we have Open Streets taking place on Sunday, and we're doing our summer concert series. Unfortunately, we had to move that from Ferguson Station to another location. As if any of you have seen, Ferguson Station is a giant encampment at this point in time, and we've unfortunately lost our event space, which has become very difficult for us to navigate. We took part in the Hamilton Butt Blitz as well on June 3rd. Unfortunately, didn't see much of a turnout in our area, but glad you did. We have a new marketing company opening at 319 King called Massive Web Design. We're excited because the Kiwi condos are starting to move people in, and that's very exciting for us. The Jarvis Square condos beside that will hopefully start people moving in the spring. And as many of you know, and lots of you attended, and thank you to everyone that came out, we did finally our Pride Crosswalk intersection unveiling on June 1st, which has been, as many of you know, a project a passion project of mine for over 10 years, and we were able to give it life. So it was a really special event. We saw over 100 people come out to Theater Aquarius, and it was just a lot of fun to finally give life to that project. There are pride bags at the door for everybody if you'd like to take one. There's also coupons and a pride sticker in there as well. And yeah, we're just sort of trying to navigate the general state of safety and security in the downtown core right now, which has really become an extreme struggle for us. We don't really know what to do at this point in time. We're trying to work with the police, our counselor. I think until an encampment protocol is adopted, we're sort of in limbo at this point in time. But at the end of the day, we've decided to sort of look at programming indoors or contesting, giveaways, those kind of things, because outdoor events just don't seem safe right now, unfortunately. It'll be a good test for us this Sunday to see how everything goes. Kind of excited for that. So like Emily mentioned, tomorrow we are doing our office vacancy and general safety of the downtown core delegation to GIC. And I'm sure you mentioned this at the last meeting, but we did also do a police deputation at the end of April as well, and we discussed the ongoing issues and asked for more support from Hamilton Police, which led to a meeting with the chief of police. We have seen some increase in supports, but we're hoping to obviously see a lot more. So there's just a lot going on downtown right now. So I will take the chair back from Susan. And may I have a mover and seconder to receive the statements? Moved by Heather, seconded by Alexa, and everybody in favor? Carried. Okay, great. I would like to just bring up one point now. So since I know we're all really busy this summer, and I don't think there's a lot on the agenda at this point in time, I'm wondering if everyone's comfortable skipping our August meeting and then going into September to give us all a little bit of a committee break. Do I need to pass a motion for that?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to skip our August 8th board meeting or subcommittee meeting? Moved by Nadine, seconded by Susan, all in favor? Carried. So we'll meet in July and then we'll be back in September.
I'm sorry, who was the seconder, Susan?
It was Susan, yes. Okay. If there's no other business, I will ask for a mover and seconder to adjourn. Moved by Alexa, seconded by Heather, all in favor, and carried. Thanks, everyone.